Okay, welcome to another edition of Pioneer Valley Life. I'm James Sullivan, your host. We're here in the studios of eMedia in the Eastworks building in East Hampton. And today, my guest is Thondup Tsering, who is a former member of the Tibetan Parliament in exile, but has actually been an employee of UMass for about 25 years.
That's correct.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So just to briefly mention, you said a little while ago, and I read about this in the news, of self-immolation as a kind of protest, I guess, what you might call it. But you said that the most recent one, which was just recently, involved a well-known activist, and it was outside of Tibet. It was in, you said it was in front of the United Nations
building. That's right. So on July 2nd, Loga Rangzhen is his name. His actual name is Loga Palden, but he goes by Loga Rangzhen. And he self-immolated in front of the United Nations. And this is the first ever self-immolation as an act of protest in the West, outside of Tibet and India. And this was a young activist that many of us have known and worked. And so this was a very tragic incident, and it has affected the entire Tibetan world. Since then, there has been vigil, there have been protests, there have been prayers going on in every Tibetan community wherever there are Tibetans. The reason why he did this on July 2nd is to protest the so-called promoting ethnic unity and progress law that China had passed and had put in place from July 1st. Now, this law sort of really, in my mind, legalizes cultural genocide, because at the core of this ethnic unity law, it forbids ethnic minorities from teaching and learning their mother tongue. As part of the unity of the nation of China, Xi Jinping wants everyone to learn Mandarin, right? And so really cutting the tongue of the Tibetan people, so to say. And if your language is gone, your religion, your culture, your song and dance, everything will disappear, right? And so his act was to protest this. And secondly, the Chinese government has, as part of this ethnic unity law and progress, they have even extended and said, even outside their borders, if any individual or organization or group violates this law, they're going to take action. Now, this is open transnational repression, oppression, right? And, China being a member of the United Nations, having signed all the different treaties that value human rights, that values mother tongue, freedom of speech, freedom of travel, religion, I don't just get it why China is doing this. And more importantly, why is the outside world not saying anything about it, right? And I think that's one of the reasons why Loga Rangzhen chose to protest outside of the United Nations building, because he's sending a message to the world saying, hey, this is what's happening in my country. My language, my culture, my people are being wiped out. Do something, right? He also had a message for the Tibetans in the free world. And his message to us was, Tibetans in the free world, you are representatives of Tibetans inside occupied Tibet who have no voice. And so we need to speak up on their behalf. And so he has called all Tibetans to unite and to be more actively and more frequently be involved in activism to generate awareness of Tibet and to advocate for Tibet. And his viewpoint is the reason why Tibetan people are suffering is because we lost our independence. And so he feels the solution is to fight for our independence. And if we fight for independence as a united people, we'll be successful and we will be able to resolve the issue of Tibet, right? I also want to say something about the notion of self-immolation, because when several years ago we did an event in Northampton to remember the sacrifices of those who have self-immolated, and there were a lot of people who were confused about why this is being done. That, of course, every human life is precious, right? But self-immolation is the highest form of non-violent protest. Okay, self-immolation is, in my mind, not a suicide, right? Typically, people who commit suicide do so out of hopelessness. They believe that to escape out of this pain or suffering, this is the only way. But Logha Rangzen's self-immolation and countless others, it's with the hope that if I take this drastic action, that the world will wake up, something will change and happen, and Tibet will be a free country. So it's with tremendous hope for their country and for the people, they're making this ultimate sacrifice, right? I call them the Tibetan soldiers of freedom and nonviolence. You know, really, from a Buddhist principle, taking your own life is interpreted as a form of violence. But from when your country and when your people are put in such desperate situation, the United Nations had passed 3 resolutions on Tibet, but have failed to act on them because China is a member of the Security
That's right.
Council.
Yeah, they just vote everything down. Yeah,
exactly. And so Tibetan people are feeling desperate, right? His Holiness and the Tibetan government, and I believe that we need Tibetans to be alive. Being alive, I think we can do a lot more and contribute for our struggle, right? But then I also understand why Logha Rangzen and countless others have made this tremendous sacrifice, because really hoping that if I take this drastic action, something will change, and hopefully my country, my people will be free.
right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
No,
that's the overall picture.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking. I mean,
I'll bet.
I think in his last testimony he had recorded, and one of the things he has asked Tibetans is, July 6th is the 91st birthday of the Dalai Lama, and he had asked us to celebrate, not to cancel or not to mourn for his death, right? And he has asked her to celebrate the Dalai Lama's 91st birthday, to do the Tibetan circle dance, because this is part of our culture and tradition. We have to teach this to our younger generation. That's how we keep our culture alive. And so, yes, we did celebrate the 91st birth anniversary of the Dalai Lama. It's a joyous moment, but it was a very subdued, you know, even today we feel very heavy, you know, that this has happened. And but I'm hoping that his sacrifice will mobilize the Tibetan community and the entire international community to do something concrete for Tibet.
Yeah.